The Honorable Member for Nyeri Town, you have a notice of motion. Honorable Duncan Mathenge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to give notice of the following motion. That aware that Article 53(1)(b) of the Constitution guarantees every child the right to free and compulsory basic education, and Article 21(2) obligates the state to take legislative and policy measures to ensure the progressive realization of socio-economic rights, which include the right to education under Article 43(1)(f). Further aware that the Basic Education Act, Cap. 211, obligates the state and school administrators to ensure equitable access, retention, and completion in basic education, and prohibits administrative barriers that exclude learners, noting that the Children Act, Cap. 141, requires the best interest of the child to be the primary consideration in actions concerning children, including in education, recognizing Kenya's international and regional obligations under Article 2 and 28 of the United Nations Convention and regional obligations under Articles 2 and 23 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 13 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Article 11 of the African Charter on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child, and the United Nations Education, Scientific, Cultural Organization, UNESCO Convention Against Discrimination in Education, which requires states to ensure education is accessible, non-discriminatory, and free from economic and social barriers. Concerned that certain administrative practices in schools, particularly compulsory sourcing of uniforms from designated outlets, exclusion of learners for inability to pay for school feeding programs, remedial class charges, or other non-statutory levies have the effect of imposing economic and administrative barriers, and in some instances, creating possible avenues for abuse of office and improper financial benefit. Now, therefore, this House resolves that, 1, all basic education institutions shall allow purchase of school uniforms from the open market as long as they generally conform to the school design and standards, and further, that any attempt to monopolize, control, or otherwise influence the supply of school uniforms is unlawful. 2, all learners shall have uninterrupted access to school regardless of inability to pay for school feeding programs, remedial charges, development levies, or any other charges not expressly provided for under the Basic Education Act or any other regulations approved by the Cabinet Secretary responsible for education. 3, the Cabinet Secretary responsible for the education, in consultation with the Teachers Service Commission, shall within 90 days develop a comprehensive regulatory and enforcement framework, including monitoring mechanisms, a complaints and redress system for parents and learners, as well as a nationwide public awareness program to ensure full compliance. And 4, provide that any person or institution, action or policy that violates this resolution shall be subjected to disciplinary action under the relevant statutes, including the Teachers Service Commission Act, the Basic Education Act, the Children's Act, and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Act. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, next we have Yeah, we can go to the next order. Yeah, if there are no comments. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Okay, those members who have, I think there had been a request for a statement by the Honorable Naibun, member for Turkana South, to be responded to by the Transport and Infrastructure Committee. I think Honorable Kibet was supposed to respond on behalf of the chair. Yes, hold on first. Yes, you're responding on behalf of? No, these were the ones requested for statements will be requested. This is the one to be requested, isn't it? Where are they? Okay, order number 7. Oh, yes. Okay, before we proceed, yes, I hadn't seen the previous page. There is a question by the member for Nakuru Town, Honorable Gikaria. You have a question? He's on the phone. Honorable Gikaria, you had another question.
Thank you,
Before we
Honorable
go to
Speaker.
the responses to statements.
I have a
Statements.
question I wanted to ask, and then I have a response.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to Section 42G, Honorable Speaker, I wish to request question number 014 of 2026 addressed to the IEBC. Could the Commission explain why holders of Maisha card who are born from 2004 are not being able to be registered as voters by IEBC, particularly those in Nakuru County? 2, explain whether the inability of the holders of Maisha card to be registered as voters renders the card an illegitimate form of identification, and if so, the basis for its illegitimacy. 3, outline the timelines for addressing the issue to enable the affected persons to register as voters before the closure of the voter registration exercise. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That particular question will be placed before the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, which oversights the IEBC. Any member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee to give an undertaking on how soon it will be provided? Honorable Wako, do you want to give an undertaking on behalf of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee?
Most obliged.
Taking into account that we'll be going on recess from the end of next week.
Yeah, we will do that and see if they can give us by next week. If not, then after recess. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, there was a statement to be requested by the Honorable Member for Turkana South. It was being directed to the Transport and Infrastructure Committee. Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would want to make a correction. It's an error. I'm a member of Turkana North,
not South.
and not Turkana South. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the routine maintenance and sport improvement of the Lokitang, Kibish, and Lokchogyo-Lokitang roads in Turkana North constituency. Honorable Speaker, the Lokitang, Kibish, and Lokchogyo-Lokitang roads branching from junction A1 constitute critical infrastructure corridors within Turkana North and Turkana West constituencies. They serve not only an essential lifelines for the local population, but also are strategic gateways to the Ilemi Triangle and vital arteries from cross-border trade with Ethiopia and South Sudan. However, the condition of these roads continue to deteriorate due to prolonged neglect, inflicting profound economic hardship upon the people of Turkana North constituency. Local traders and pastoralists endure exorbitant transport costs, frequent delays, and excessive vehicle wear and tear, all of which erode their meager margins. Perishable goods, particularly fish from Lake Turkana, suffer massive post-harvest losses owing to protracted journey times and near total absence of reliable cold chain facilities, thereby restricting supply to major markets, including Nairobi. As such, given the importance of these roads, they need to undergo routine maintenance, regular grading, enhanced drainage systems, and comprehensive anti-erosions. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. 1, a report on the reasons for delay routine maintenance of Loktang Kibish and Lokchogyo Loktang B1 roads despite the allocation of funds. 2, details of the funds allocated for the maintenance of these roads over the past 3 financial years, including the disbursed funds, and corresponding works undertaken, if any. 3, plans being put in place to ensure the necessary maintenance works are carried out in a timely manner, including an indication of the timelines for commencement of the maintenance works. And lastly, accountability measures being taken to address the failure by the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, to execute the maintenance works. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Any member of the Transport and Infrastructure Committee to give an undertaking on time frame? Yes, Honorable Kibet. Give him the mic. He's right at the back. To your right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could we give a response probably in 2 weeks' time, a week after recess? We can invite the member in that meeting.
But you know, you can send out the request for a statement to the relevant ministry now, and then by the time we come back from recess, it will be available.
Obliged, most obliged.
All right. Next, we have a response to a statement that was requested by the Honorable Dr. Oundo, member for Funyula. It's been responded to by the Energy Committee. Honorable Gikaria, proceed. Honorable Kikaria, it seems like Honorable Oundo, who's the owner of the question, statement is not here. And usually the precedent is that it will pass. Give him the mic. What do you...
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It is true that Honorable Oundo is not around. But now this is the third day, Honorable Speaker. I know Oundo is a very frequent member of Parliament in our... Would you allow me, maybe we give a written response, and if it's not satisfied, then maybe, because I've been here now, this is the third time, and actually I'm the one who went to the table office yesterday to request that it be. So if it is possible, I could give the written response. If he's satisfied, then he could be able to.
Yes, I think just give him the written response.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yes, and if he has any comments, he can always raise a point of order at the appropriate
Most
time.
obliged, Honorable
Thank
Speaker.
you. Next order. And Honorable Gikaria, you can table the report to the House, just for the record. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, the Education Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 51 of 2025, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend various education laws to require the development of a curriculum and teaching of nationhood science at all levels of learning. Order number 9, the Local Content Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2025, second reading, resumption of debate.
Can I have the record of who was speaking, who has any balance of time? Okay, on the debate, we have a balance of 34 minutes. I think the last person who was speaking was the Honorable Harrison Kombe, but he had no balance of time. He'd completed. Okay, members who would like to contribute to this particular amendment bill, please press the intervention button. Members who want to contribute, press the intervention button. Seems that okay, Honorable Dorothy Kiara.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this very important bill that has been brought to this House by Honorable Jane Kagiri, MP, Laikipia County. The Local Content Bill, National Assembly Bill number 45 of 2025. Honorable Speaker, this bill is very clear in what it wants to achieve. Honorable Speaker, we take our children to school. We implore upon them to pursue various disciplines. And these days, Honorable Speaker, we have invested heavily in TVET institutions, Honorable Speaker. That means this country is not short of manpower in terms of jobs that should be secured in this country. Honorable Speaker, this bill is speaking to us as a country because it is aiming at ensuring that all the investors who invest in this country and they want to employ people to do various jobs, starting from the lowest to the highest. Honorable Speaker, it should be mandatory that 60% of the jobs in their companies are secured by local people. Honorable Speaker, but what is happening today, we go to most of the foreign entities and we find it is a mere partly of around maybe 20%, sometimes even 10% of our people employed in that factory. The rest are all foreigners. Honorable Speaker, then one wonders, as a country, we have kept saying we need jobs for our youth. Honorable Speaker, it is the high time that we actualize and make sure when this bill is passed, it is assented into law, and we are asking the President, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, if there is a bill that will verdict us, if there is a bill that will stand in the gap of the youth of this country, is ensuring that 60% of the jobs are given and secured by the locals of this country. Honorable Speaker, occasionally, we have seen our local employees being mistreated in their own country. A point in time, Honorable Speaker, there is a time where a Chinese foreigner was seen battling a young, innocent employer in his hotel, Honorable Speaker, and many, many other incidents that have happened unnoticed and maybe sometimes unreceipted or unreported. Honorable Speaker, we are saying this is the high time that we secure jobs for our children. This is the high time we must think of how we can be able to expand the labor market locally to be able to accommodate all the children that we have encouraged to go to activate institutions, all the children that we are investing in our higher learning institutions, and the very many disciplines that they are taking that are required in most of these organizations. Honorable Speaker, we see even foreigners coming to our country, and they want to insure their vehicles, but instead of having local insurance companies securing them, insuring them, we see them insuring their vehicles, insuring their homes, insuring even their lives abroad. Honorable Speaker, we are speaking to this and we are saying this bill has come at the right time, and this bill has come so that we can be able to support our young men and women. Honorable Madam Speaker, we are not short of people who have gone through education and they have secured themselves very good papers. They have come out with excellent skills in whatever discipline they are required to. And Honorable Speaker, I sincerely want to say, let us come out as a house and support this bill that has been fronted in this house by Honorable Madam Jane Kagiri, and tell her this is timely, this is the right thing for this country, and we are taking this country far if we cannot support this bill, local content bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Honorable Member for Moiben. Not on this. Honorable Member for Nandi Hills, Honorable Bernard Kitur.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute on this very, very important bill in our nation, sponsored by Jane Kagiri, women representative for Laikipia. Honorable Speaker, this bill comes at a time when we've had challenges in our country where foreign companies, foreign institutions who invest in our country many times want to source whether goods or services from abroad, locking out the Kenyans, the locals, who are also need to be given the opportunity to participate in building and supporting those companies because they have the power, they have the ability. But many a times the undermining of the local industries, the undermining of the small SMEs in our country, they are being gagged, not being given the opportunity to be able to also contribute in facilitating the foreign companies who are operating locally, and as well creating, building their own economy. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this bill, and I want to appreciate that Honorable Jane Kakiri comes from that region where, for instance, there was a time we were being told that some foreign company around used to even import potatoes from across the seas. Yet these are very available locally if the farmers from within are trained or they are given the right seeds. They are able to produce equally or even much better quality of things, whether services or goods. They can even do better from Kenya. And so since there was no legal framework that would then lock in the foreign companies, that would then lock in investors to be able to have the local participation. And so this bill comes at the right time where then there will be need for foreign investors locally to be able to give a percentage. And I saw in this the 60% of services, at least 60% of services supplies and goods from local companies to be able to support and supply. I think this is very good, Honorable Speaker, because it's going to build also the capacity of the locals, so that if foreign companies have particular standards they need to maintain for their goods and services they want to be supplied locally, then we will be able to improve our local business community. And I think then I will support this because it's going to support across, whether it's Nairobi, various parts of the country, it's going to improve so that we can be able to stand to the standards of the international level. So I don't want to belabor much, Honorable Speaker. I came here today just to support this bill and congratulate very much Jane Kakiri for work well done, extreme research that you did. It is extremely timely. You are going to change the lives of many, and we're going to improve the quality of living of the business community in our country. I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support.
Very well. Honorable Member for Nyeri Town, Honorable Madenge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to support this bill. And Madam Speaker, to demonstrate this, I want to use the examples of two state corporations. One state corporation is Kenyan in power generation. Because Kenyan has perfected technology transfer, including in the area of geothermal, we have seen Kenyan use local expertise to go and conduct projects and implement projects on geothermal power generation and electricity generation in Ethiopia. On the other hand, allowing me to use the company that is Kenya Pipeline today, which has a monopoly in oil and fuel storage. Yet, despite the years of existence of Kenya Pipeline and the level of technology advancements, including training in our national polytechnics, training in Kenyan's own Moredat TVET, training of engineers at the degree level in our universities, Kenya Pipeline still outsources the work of maintaining the fuel storage tanks, including welding, to companies, to foreign companies. And we keep wondering how we keep saying that there are no jobs for our middle level technicians and technologists, as well as our engineers. And therefore, it is critical that we have a resolution of this House backed by a legal framework and a policy change that will command that actually 50% or 60% or even 70% of projects being implemented in this country have to have the local content guaranteed, both in terms of use of expertise, technology transfer, and also the use of locally available materials so that the local communities that are hosting the projects can have a sense of ownership. In fact, I would like to push this a little bit further, that Honorable Jane Kagiri consider affirmative action so that even out of that 60%.
Honorable Member for Laikipia, it's good to pay attention to what Honorable DMM is saying.
That a certain percentage of the 60% is even locked for the host community. So that, for example, if I use the example of the geothermal plant in Olkaria, out of the 60% that is locked for local content, 10, 15, or 20% is also locked for the host community around Olkaria, so that it can start becoming meaningful to the host communities. They don't just see the smoke. What is the effect does the smoke or the vapor that escapes?
You can also use a buru in Gilgil, which never gets anything from
there again, Madam Speaker. So, Honorable Jane, you have done a very good effort. But in your final submissions, please ensure that You know, just like we have Batuk in Nanyuki. What content of the Batuk contract benefits the host community in Nanyuki, besides the rest of the country? And Madam Speaker, you'll find that this thing should actually not just extend to international contracts, even local contracts. I have a case where cabbages for Kigajo Police Training College, the tenders are being issued in Nairobi. So how is it cheaper to transport cabbages from Marigiti to Nyeri rather than purchasing cabbages from Shaka Market, which is less than half a kilometer from Kigajo College? Bread, tenders are being issued in Nairobi. How come it is cheaper to transport bread from Nairobi to Kiganjo, yet we have a gentleman we famously refer to as Wangoko, manufacturing bread half a kilometer from Kiganjo Police Training College? And these issues, the CSs and the PSs must stop arguing that we are politicizing these things. The local host communities have a stake, even as the rest of the nation benefits. The local host communities must have affirmative action so that these projects can make sense. Madam Speaker, I recall that in the construction of the SGR, there was a 30% reservation for local suppliers. But when it came to implementation, the local suppliers were still short-changed on the 30% reservations. And therefore, I want to call upon the implementation committee in this House that once we have made resolutions, the following up of the resolutions of the House and how they are being implemented, this committee must stop dropping the ball. Madam Speaker, in fact, I want to propose to this House and to the chair, the Speaker's chair, that it is time, it's 4 years down the line, the implementation committee, Madam Speaker, should be compelled to table a matrix of the implementation of all the decisions that this Parliament has made, this House has made up to this point in time. Because we cannot just keep having resolutions made that have far-reaching effects, but immediately they exit here and they are communicated to the relevant ministry or sagas, then they are kept on the back burner. So, Madam Speaker, I want to put my weight wholeheartedly behind this motion by the Honorable Jane Kagiri, and I urge that all of us, we overwhelmingly support it. But beyond that, we have a problem of implementation of programs, projects, and decisions of this House in this country. This House must be more firm in ensuring that the resolutions of this Parliament are implemented. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Very well. Member for Matungulu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First, I want to thank my sister for coming up with this bill. It is high time, Madam Speaker, the local host communities for some of these multi-internationals to be a true beneficiary of what they are doing on the ground. And I'll put an example. Honorable Mathenge has put so many examples, but I'll put an example of Kenyan generating power from the 7 falls in Ukambani. But some parts of the Ukambani area are lacking power. And also, you'll find that we have water in Masinga Dam, which has been put up to generate power. But the local community are lacking water, even to farm with that. And it is the high time, Madam Speaker, to make sure that this bill is fast-tracked, to make sure that the local communities benefit from this kind of intervention from this House. And I want to urge you, Madam Speaker, because you sit in the Speaker's panel, it is not a request. The implementation committee of this House, I've been in this House for the last 10 years, Madam Speaker. They have rarely tabled a matrix or a report of all the resolutions made by the House and how are those resolutions being implemented in this country.
Because, Madam Speaker, we are enjoying taxpayers' salaries, benefits, and everything. But we are here to make the life of Kenyans better than the way they are. And this is the kind of amendment and bills which we are going to encourage. If you look at along the river corridor, Madam Speaker, there are so many internationals doing a lot of work, production of cement, production of steel, production of many items which can benefit the host communities, the host counties within that belt. Are these companies really doing that? It is the high time we pass this bill, make sure that the 30% proposed by Honorable Kagiri, that it is implemented to the letter and it is followed to each and every company in this country. Because we are crying that the basket is shrinking. That is the truth, Madam Speaker. The cost of doing things in this country is going high, but we still need more money to cushion Kenyans, and this is one way of raising that money to the host community, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I stand to support this bill and urge Honorable Kagiri to make sure that we follow it up after it is ascended. It is our duty and your duty to make sure that you appear before the implementation committee and give you a timeline of how they will want to follow up this implementation of this. This is critical because if we pass the bill, it's ascended, and it is not implemented, what are we doing? You'll have wasted your time. So make it upon yourself to follow up with the chair of the implementation committee and make sure that we get real report of how this is implemented in every multinational. Look at a company like Del Monte with vast land around Thika, Murang'a, and part of Ukambani, Madam Speaker. What is the benefit of the host communities there? It is minimal. Actually, they have turned the boys who are trying to survive to be scavengers of the pineapples. And when you are caught, you get into jail. Yet, if they had programs within the area to make sure that the young generation in that area benefit from what they are doing, it will be of great help. I stand to support Madam Speaker and urge that through the leadership of the House, it is a high time the implementation committee tells us how the laws have passed since the inception of this August House in 2022. How many have they been implemented? Because that's where we are failing. We are doing so much good work, but following and implementation becomes a challenge. And this is one bill whereby I will support Honorable Kagiri. Physically, we go to that committee and tell us, how do they plan to get this implemented? Because I know it will help the people of Matungulu, it will help the people of Baringo, it will help the people of Kenya, and especially the young generation in this country. And we stop crying that we don't have jobs when we can be able to create more jobs. Thank you very much. We support you. I support the bill.
Honorable members, this bill should be replied to in 2 minutes, but I want to indulge member for Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe. If you keep it short, we can be in time.
I'll keep it very short, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I start to support this bill. And just like my colleagues have said, we have sold out our job market to foreigners, Madam Speaker. It's not long to have foreigners in the country, but let have foreigners in the country doing jobs that our people cannot do, doing specialized jobs that we need those specializations. Currently, Madam Speaker, if you go around town, even if you go to a kinyozi, to a spa, even the young boys who used to shave us now are from outside the country. Even the young girls who used to work in our salons, now we have people from neighboring countries working in salons. We have even given out manual jobs that our young people are supposed to be doing. Madam Speaker, this government has really insisted on TVET training. For example, I have a TVET in my constituency with 8,000 students. This year alone, we have graduated around 2,000 students. Where will these students go if all the technical jobs are going to foreigners, Madam Speaker? On the issue of importing products, Madam Speaker, you go to every supermarket today, you see eggs from China. Another day I saw meat it's called processed meat. You are told made in China. When you are told meat, even lice, now we have lice made in China. The people of Mwea are languishing with lice with nowhere to sell, but your plastic lice made in China. Madam Speaker, it's high time we protected our people, we protected our economy, and we protected our young people so that they can stop languishing in poverty. Even all this hunger you are seeing with our young people is lack of jobs. So, Madam Speaker, I really support this bill and congratulate Honorable Kagiri.
Very well, right on time. Honorable Jane Kagiri, time to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll start by thanking my colleagues for the great support they've shown towards this bill. Honorable Speaker, I would want to assure my colleagues that I've taken note of each and every of their contribution, and they're going to see it as we go into the committee of the whole House, and hopefully we eventually see the ascension of this bill. Honorable Speaker, in my response, I would want to say and remind honorable members that it is good I refer to the UNCTAD report of 2024, which indicated that in the year 2023, the foreign direct investment in Kenya was $1.5 billion US. The foreign direct investment outflow that same year was 3 billion US dollars. Honorable Speaker, what I'm trying to indicate is that we are left with only 200 million US dollars that is left in this country after all that deduction. What are we doing, Honorable Speaker? We are just emptying water from one bucket to the other bucket, claiming we are doing something, but nothing is left in our country. Honorable Speaker, in the same year, 2024, the Competition Authority of Kenya also released a report which indicated that 90% of the trucks in this country are owned by Kenyans. However, 70% of all contracts by multinationals, they go to fellow multinationals. Honorable Speaker, these are the equalities that we want to fight for. How can we be owning the trucks, but we don't qualify to get the tenders? We must ensure our Kenyans are given their opportunities. Honorable Speaker, I would want to take us all back to a country called China, which when it started doing its high-speed rail, it engaged the country of France, Germany, and Japan. But in their requirements, they told them they had to leave a skills transfer as they exited the country after that tender. Today, Honorable Speaker, China is the leading constructor of high-speed rails all over the world. That is because they received the skills transfer. Honorable Speaker, I appreciate all the amendments and proposed amendments members have given, including what our proper definition of what a local content is, proper definition of a foreign company, proper definition of even what we are going to be giving as a penalties, as well as our proposal to have a local content compliance authority. Honorable Speaker, all these will be considerations that will be made. Honorable Speaker, let me give a special thanks to the Honorable Member of Matungulu and the Honorable Member of Nyeri for giving us an introduction into something we had not thought about into this bill, because we have to further protect the local host communities, even as we speak about local content as a whole republic. Honorable Speaker, I must also appreciate Honorable Amina Mnazi of Malindi, who brought in the tourism sector also, where we have hotels in Malindi that only employ foreigners, the cooks are foreigners, everything is foreign in those hotels. We must protect our people, we must give them opportunities to serve. Honorable Speaker, allow me to add this because I have collected it in part of my research. Many of these multinationals claim that they give us business because they buy our fuel. Honorable Speaker, in this bill, we are also going to protect that fuel is not a local product from Kenya, such that everybody fuels their car and they want to claim they are giving us business as fuel in this country. That one we will not accept. Honorable Speaker, many people will wonder if our bill is going to cause any investment flight. It is good to assure everybody that the countries that lead in foreign direct investment have even more stringent laws than this country of ours. So if investors are comfortable following laws somewhere else, even in our own country, they should be comfortable. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, in our public participation, many of these investors have given their contribution, and even they themselves have said they require a rule book where they come into this country and know what is expected from them or not expected from them. Honorable Speaker, we must also change our attitude as Kenyans, because anytime we talk about skills from Kenya, products from Kenya, Kenyans will always ask, are we qualified? This bill and the research I have done should clearly tell Kenyans we are even overqualified. It's only that opportunities are not protected for us. And as I indicated when I was presenting the bill, I said this is just buy Kenya, build Kenya in the form of a law, where we are ensuring we can no longer live on goodwill, but even as we can protect our people. Honorable Speaker, I'm a great reader of the good book, the Bible, and in the Bible, God talks of us loving our neighbors. However, in the same Bible, God also talks of him hating fools. We are a good neighbor. We look at our neighbors. We observe all our treaty agreements with our neighbors. However, are we being extended through the same generosity? Honorable Speaker, we must put Kenyans first, even as we go into these trading blocks, these treaties, and all agreements that we have. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, it is good for me to take this Honorable House back to the year 2014, when the Communications Authority put in a regulation that 40% of our broadcasting on Kenyan media houses had to be Kenyan content. I remember, Honorable Speaker, we all went berserk wondering what we were going to watch, and we all kept wondering what our local content would look like. Today, Honorable Speaker, what looked like the impossible is now at 94.6% compliance. Honorable Speaker, this is a bill that can be complied to. This is a bill that people can honor, and this is one bill that is going to ensure our Kenyans get jobs and get opportunities, and even as we become a competitive country, just like any other. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply.
Very well. We shall defer the putting of the question on this bill to the next appointed time. Next order.
Order number 10, the Prevention of Livestock and Produce Theft Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2023, second reading, resumption of debate.
Honorable Zambia was on the floor, had a balance of 6 minutes. I don't see him in the House. So I will give this chance to Honorable Member for Laikipia East. Not in the House. Honorable Barto, are you on this? I need to know if you have indicated that you want to speak on this one. Honorable Barto has already spoken. If you intend to speak to this bill, kindly use the intervention. Honorable Mule.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I would like to stand to support the bill on prevention of livestock and produce theft bill 2023 by Senator Samson Cherargei and co-sponsored by Daud. Madam Speaker, I come from a constituency whereby we neighbor Nairobi. I'm part of my constituency. Quite a number of members put up livestock. Madam Speaker, to bring to attention to this House that actually this bill is extremely timely for us in Matungulu, because only this week, Madam Speaker, because of the heavy rains going on, quite a number of incidents of theft happened on Monday evening, Tuesday evening, and yesterday. And Madam Speaker, sometimes it demoralizes the small-scale farmers who are putting a few livestock to support their families, to be able to meet the day need obligation as a family. I remember yesterday getting a call from one of my constituency, John Bosco Mwema Mudhengi, who had only 7 cows. And during the rain at night, thugs stormed to his residence and stole all the 7 cows, leaving him with nothing to depend on. This guy is not working. This guy depends on his livestock. So, Madam Speaker, this is a bill which we need to take seriously. Madam Speaker, you know, this country, we have suffered a long history of cattle rustling, a long history of cattle theft from the pastoralist communities. And it's high time we support this bill to encourage the county government, because this is a job being dedicated to the chief executive officer in charge of livestock in each county, to come up with mechanisms which prevent, compact, and eventually eradicate livestock and theft in the counties and in the country. Madam Speaker, if we take our role properly and make sure that this bill is enacted, just like the previous bill we just spoke about it, and it's implemented to the letter, will wipe a lot of tears from Kenyans who are suffering from this theft. Madam Speaker, the bill is putting a lot of emphasis on branding, and I want to go further and request Honorable Daud to liaise with the sponsor of the bill that the branding we are talking about, if we want to help our farmers with the new technology in the market and the world we are in, is electronic branding and tracking of vehicles, of the cows. Madam Speaker, KWS has embraced branding by tagging the lions, the elephants, and be able to track them where they are. If we implement the same and the counties implement the same tagging of cows using the electronic devices, when a farmer, a helpless farmer like John Bosco Mudengi, Mwema, in my constituency, who lost 7 of them a day before, those cows could have been traced electronically. The police and the anti-stock theft could have known where those cows have ended up to. The same time, the bill is addressing registration and designs of branding. Those are the responsibilities of the county government. And I think, Madam Speaker, we need to call upon the county government. Some of these interventions cost very little. But if you look at it, the county government are spending quite colossal amount of money on programs which don't have effect, does not have effect to the common mwananchi. So, Madam Speaker, I stand to support this bill because it is clearly giving a lifeline and a protection to that local farmer. We are not only talking of the local farmers and the small farmers like in my constituency. Madam Speaker, personally, I rear cows in numbers. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to be able to identify all of them. So it is high time the county government to look at interventions which will mean business to the local farmer on the livestock industry. Madam Speaker, if you look at the liveline in Kenya, a local farmer with at least 10 cows, you can be assured, Madam Speaker, his kids will go to school. Because at the end of every year, he'll be able to sell a cow and take that kid to school, pay school fees, and remain with something for the family. If he has cows which can produce milk, you can be assured that family, Madam Speaker, cannot starve of hunger because in the morning and in the evening, there is production of milk, which is also healthy for our young people who are going to grade 1, grade 2, and also ECD classes, Madam Speaker. So it is a well-timed bill which we need to support, Madam Speaker, and make sure that, Madam Speaker, we look at the offenses. And I want to urge Honorable Daud, being the link of this bill in this house. Some of the penalties you are proposing are quite minimal. Because if you say, Madam Speaker, we look at a fine not exceeding 100,000, and a guy has walked up with Honorable Kiunjuri's 100 cows. He'll sell only 1 cow, produce that 100,000 bill, and walk away and go and sell the 99. So, Madam Speaker, we must enhance this, Honorable Daud. We must enhance the penalties to make sure that we deter these criminals from continuing causing the mess of livestock stealing. I agree with you on the penalty of not less than 20 years. Because, Madam Speaker, if the guy is on his early 20s and he goes in for 20 years, By the time he comes back, he doesn't have energy even to kick the herd all the way to the market. So we need to look at those penalties. Madam Speaker, there are many, many beneficial proposals on this bill. Madam Speaker, the other issue the bill is trying to advance is the issue of transporting livestock using trucks. Madam Speaker, if you drive along Mombasa Road on a Tuesday, I can assure you you'll meet not less than 20 to 30 trucks ferrying livestock to Nairobi. It is high time, Madam Speaker, the traffic officers and the law enforcement team to make sure that those trucks have proper licenses of transport of livestock, and if possible, a manifest of how many sheep are you carrying, how many goats are you carrying, how many cows are you carrying, and where did you get them from? Because that is the easiest way to stop this movement. Because you'll find a theft will happen in the deep areas of this country. Yet there is a truck stationed in a riverbed, whereby the livestock will come and be loaded in and transported into Nairobi, and there are so many slaughterhouses. The bill also, we need to address issue of the slaughterhouses we have in this town, Madam Speaker. And I will kindly, if you can add only me 2 minutes, Madam Speaker, please.
1 minute, Honorable Mule.
Thank you. We need to address seriously the issue of the slaughterhouses, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when we were growing up, we knew the only slaughterhouses which were authorized to slaughter cows were fully controlled by the local government. Today, Madam Speaker, you go to every town, there is mushrooming of slaughterhouses whereby we don't know whether they have vets, they have control, and they have even licenses to do that. So I want to thank Honorable Daud and Senator Chelegei for this bill, because it's the high time. Now we address the issue through the law so that those who are benefiting from this business of livestock theft should be taken to court, should be held accountable through law, and there is no escape route, Madam Speaker. I support.
Very well. Honorable Mwangi Kiunjuri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want from the onset to appreciate this bill. It is timely, and my position is very clear that I support. Madam Speaker, if you look at the history of this country, the bills that have been there before, the laws that are there, and you ask yourself where the rain started beating us, why even today we are suffering as farmers. Madam Speaker, this bill has come at the right time. However, Madam Speaker, you can bring so many good laws, but if you're not going to appreciate these laws, if there is no enforcement, once again, this will be a piece of paper. Madam Speaker, if you look at what is happening in the country, and mostly isolated areas, and you must be able to acknowledge that one cow stolen from a poor farmer in Laikipia and 100 cows stolen from a rancher in Laikipia, the pain is the same. And therefore, Madam Speaker, once you're addressing this matter, and I'm very happy to see that the counties have a bigger role to play this time around, a national government is coming up. It is good for us to understand that they're complementing each other. The county government, national government, and the leadership will be very important for us to be able to move forward and to ensure that this practice come to an end. Madam Speaker, if I look at, for example, my county, where I come from, we border Saburu, we border Isiolo, we border Pokot, we border Baringo, and we have real issues on livestock theft. Madam Speaker, if you look at practices that are happening there, why these issues happen, you realize that before even law enforcement officers come in, our own understanding, our neighbors and ourselves, sitting down together, are able to regulate most of these things. However, Madam Speaker, when now the issue of cartels comes in, that it is a trade, Madam Speaker, it is not just about petty thieves, it's about cartel well established. Because sometimes you wonder, how can you drive 1,000 head of cattle, even 100 heads of cattle? They disappear somewhere, not even in the forest, somewhere in a plateau, and they disappear and they are never recovered. Where do these people take these animals? Yes, they are hiding places where they can be able to hold these animals for 1 or 2 months. However, end game, there will be market for these animals. It is important when it comes to enforcement that we come out clearly and name cartels, name those who are involved. And it's a big trade, Madam Speaker. And before you address that, then whatever you try to bring up, you'll be just in futility. Madam Speaker, if you look at the one cow farmer, for example, those people living in Trukuma, in Laikipia East constituency, they have been suffering for the last 8 months, whereby every night they come in, they will steal 20 chicken, they will take 1 goat, they will slaughter 1 cow, and end game, you ask yourself, if 20 chicken are stolen, where is the market? If 1 goat is stolen, where is the market? And there is evidence that it was slaughtered. And therefore, this brings in the issue of eatery places. Those small joints in towns, those major joints in towns where these meat or stolen products are sold. And therefore, when it comes to the issue of identification, we also need to go deeper and understand how are we going to track down those eatery joints so that we can be able to establish their sources of materials. Because you wonder, a joint is open today, you never see these people in slaughter buying meat, but they are permanently supplying. Where are they getting their supplies? And this can only be done in conjunction with the enforcement officers, who either don't care, those who are keeping the regulations, and those who are supposed to track down the thieves. And lastly, you come to understand that there is always a collusion between enforcement officers and the thieves, Madam Speaker. For me, I believe that by enforcing this, it will be better laws to this country. But again, we must achieve our intention, we must achieve our purpose. We ensure that farmers and traders are also not targeted as we come to implementation, because again, it will open another Pandora's box, whereby now enforcement officers, instead of enforcing, they will take advantage of now receiving bribes from the same thieves that we are trying to protect ourselves from. We must make sure that the farmer down in the village is well protected, that this marking is not just in futility, that we must ensure that when it comes to marketing, that is where the actual problem will be sorted out. Madam Speaker, counties must also be empowered. National government comes in and in a joint venture, ensure that we have tracking technology, proper technology, to ensure that the effectiveness will be felt across, so that at least one will be able to understand that if I'm caught in a community trying to push the question of theft or being in collaboration or whoever is doing it, there will be serious consequences. Madam Speaker, this issue, if well addressed, we will be able to take care of those families who have been properly impoverished. Madam Speaker, a family with 1 cow, if you steal that cow, you deny that cow, that family livelihood. in terms of even what they eat on daily basis. A person with only 5 goats, if a child is thrown out of school, they can be able to sell 1 goat for 15 shillings, 1,000, and that is money enough to pay school fees for a day school for a whole year. But us sitting here, we think that 1 goat is nothing to those farmers. But those farmers, 5 goats alone, a farmer is able to educate his kid, day school, from 1 to from 4. They only need to sell 1 goat. End of the year, the goat that was left can be able to give birth to another 1 or so. And in the process, the 5 goats, in 5 years, will have sustained that family. So we must make sure that this law is applied the right way, for that with 1 goat, and to that with 1,000 goats, so that at least Kenyans will be able now to understand even economic part of it, Madam Speaker. Lastly, Madam Speaker, it is good to be fair, sensitive, and at the same time, you become very transparent and ask county government to take their responsibilities seriously. Because movement from one county to another, even if you are walking across one county to the other, you are able to be monitored. We shall be able now to know, once we mark these animals, that this animal comes from this county, comes from this village, comes from so and so, and they must be properly protected. I would also like us to look at it and we sensitize those counties that are really doing livestock farming. For example, you have Samburu and Laikipia. So that we also don't cause tension, because not everybody who is coming from Samburu to Laikipia comes with bad intention. Not everybody moving from Laikipia to Isiolo moves with bad intention. And therefore, we should also have this public participation, sensitization, so that we can know when we have free movement, the urgency of it, when to allow it, but not just free movement without respecting boundaries. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I want once again to support this bill, and it's a bill that is making us make another step in the right direction. Madam Speaker, I support.
Next chance to the member for Marsabit, Honorable Wako.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill on prevention of livestock and produce theft bill 2023. I also want to congratulate the sponsor of the bill and also the co-sponsor, because this bill will help many livestock farmers who have suffered in the hands of criminals, who have suffered in the hands of bandits, who have suffered because they have nothing that can protect them. Honorable Speaker, if we just reflect on the life of a simple livestock farmer who has maybe 50 or 20 cows, and he has no bank account, no other business, and his entire family depends on the livestock. And most of the time, the livestock farmers cannot even afford to buy a shoe for themselves. They cannot afford to dress well. They cannot afford to make their life, live a better life. But all they know and all that they have is the cows, the goats, and the camel. And they take care of those animals religiously, such that if drought comes, it's like, death sentence have been given to them. And Honorable Speaker, unfortunately, those livestock farmers have suffered because of cattle rustlers who have been attacking them from time to time. I come from Marsabit, which has suffered for the last many years, since I have known myself, because you keep few animals, the attackers come, they run away with the animals, and before they go far, they can even sell the animals, and then they get onto a bus and get back to their county or their station. And even follow up, because the county security team have always said, let us follow the footsteps, let us see where they have passed, let us get hold of this village and make sure that they produce the attackers. It has never happened. In fact, the last that happened in less than 2 months' time claimed the life of 2 people and about 14 animals were killed with bullets because the attackers were that rough. They killed the people and they killed the animals. And they ran away with the remaining animals. And up to today, that happened like 40, 45 days ago. Up to today, the attackers have not, the team, because there were about 15, 16 of them, only 2 people died. And through the identification, they were able to know the villages they come from, their names, and everything. But unfortunately, up to today, those attackers and the remaining 14 of them have not been identified, and the police have not even given us any update. And I visited the 2 families, and they lost all the animals. They have lost their breadwinner. The family is still young. One mzee has young sons. None of them is employed, and they are just seated there not knowing what to do next. The other one is a NPR, and he has a young family. His firstborn is less than 7 years, and his lastborn is 1 year old. He lost his father under the same circumstances. He lost his grandfather in the same village. And when you visit that village, you see all the 3 graves. It's such a sad, sad thing. And it is the responsibility of any government to protect the lives of the people, the citizens, and their property. This bill will solve that problem. And this bill provides legal framework for the identification of livestock. It may be costly, but it will help us. And my prayer is that the county government will give all the attention that this bill deserves, so that all the animals will be identified, will be able to be identified, and they will have the mark that, the owner or the security team, in case of any loss, will be able to follow and bring back the animals. Again, this bill, the bill will also take care of the movement of livestock. As I told you previously, the security team and the local elders, they used to follow the footsteps without knowing what to do. And sometimes they get into the forest and they tell you, now we cannot go beyond here. This bill will help us to know the movement of livestock from where, but the moment they leave their boma, the village, and to wherever the animals will be taken. Again, the bill will take care, will serve as a purpose of prevention of livestock theft, because by doing all this, putting all these control measures in place, we'll be able to prevent the theft of animals. Again, regulation of trade in livestock. Sometimes animals taken from the village, one village in Marsabit, Isiolo, or anywhere, will be sold here in Dagoretti. And people will consume the meat, and the owner is suffering or already dead and buried. But by doing this, we will be able to control every animal, to know where the animals are, to control the trade, and even to make sure that they don't go beyond a certain stage. Honorable Speaker, if there is anything that will benefit our livestock farmers, it is this bill. Again, when it comes to maybe the people, the attackers, the rustlers, and when it comes to the fines, we need to put more penalties so that if you are found guilty, you can even be imprisoned for the rest of your life because you have destroyed somebody's life, you have destroyed people's business and life and family, and there is no way you can just be taken into prison for 10, 20 years. Let it be life imprisonment so that these people can know that the moment you are there, then you will face the rules or the law. Honorable Speaker, I support this bill, and it is my prayer that soon our President will assent to this. That will give us, and especially pastoralists, a relief. Thank you.
Very well. Member for South Imenti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this auspicious bill. This bill is long overdue, and I thank the honourable members for having endeavored to bring this particular bill. Madam Speaker, this bill has clear objectives, especially, Madam Speaker, to strengthen prevention of livestock theft. Livestock theft has been a traditional and has been there time immemorial, especially across the boundaries, the inter-tribes, especially along the borders. Recently, we experienced a lot of livestock clustering between the Saburus and the Meru, that's Meru North. And also, Madam Speaker, it is not only in northern grazing areas that this activity is practiced, but also we realize in areas where high-grade animals are kept, animals are stolen for slaughter. Madam Speaker, to introduce measures to curb cattle rustling and related crimes is very vital, especially whereby we are supposed to have legal issues implemented. Madam Speaker, the objective of having this bill, especially whereby we enhance surveillance and monitoring of livestock movement. Livestock movement should be monitored from one region to another, especially where the security authorities have roadblocks. We also realize that most of the livestock stolen are transported at night, and it is the duty of the security to stop or either any livestock movement at night. Madam Speaker, to enhance security in rural areas is very critical so that we have police monitoring the movement of animals at night. To improve coordination between the security agencies and the communities should be overemphasized to monitor the animal movement. Madam Speaker, promoting of the community policing activities is very important so that they are able to protect themselves where the security officers are not available. Madam Speaker, as had indicated earlier, it is very, very important to promote community policing initiatives, to regulate livestock and produce trade should be monitored so that, Madam Speaker, where we have market places where these animals are sold, they should be monitored very well so that we are able to know, or the administration is able to know the origin of this particular livestock. Madam Speaker, we should really strengthen enforcement and the penalties by introducing stricter penalties for offenders. Very strict penalties, Madam Speaker, should be imposed, especially long-term jail, or we have where we have fines that they may not afford, so that other communities, other cattle rustlers or thieves are not able to leave the jail and practice the same. Should deter theft and related criminal activities is very, very important, Madam Speaker. We have also to promote the use of technology, encourage livestock identification system in G-tagging, Madam Speaker, a tracking system, a branding, makes it very easy to identify those animals whenever they are found in the market. Madam Speaker, we know very well, especially in the rural areas, animals are stolen and then taken to butchery for slaughter. And at times it's difficult to identify those animals after they are slaughtered. Madam Speaker, we should really be able to emphasize on the ways of identification so that we improve the traceability and the recovery of the stolen livestock, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, cattle rustling is not just a mere activity, but they stand as if it is a business cartel that they market these particular animals, probably even outside the country. Because, Madam Speaker, where you get several animals in large quantities, thousands stolen, and they cannot be traced, it means that there's a market. Madam Speaker, it is very, very important that the market of these animals should be identified. Madam Speaker, having a buffer zone between various tribes is also very important, especially between Isiolo and Meru, where cattle rustling is rampant. And we emphasize both to the central government and the county government to overemphasize on identifying these buffer zone areas. Madam Speaker, it is very, very important that this activity is being encouraged by poor response by the security operations. And this can be achieved, Madam Speaker, especially where we have implementation and enforcement capacity enhanced. Adequate resources in the security agencies, especially where we have vehicles, availed ammunitions, and personnel. Resources are key to success in any particular activity, Madam Speaker. Cross-border coordination, Madam Speaker, is very important, especially the parties across the border. They have to coordinate extremely at a high level that both the parties on both sides of the border are able to coordinate. We know technology is responsive, Madam Speaker, but the cost of technology adoption is very important for security reasons, mainly because the livestock that's owned by these people is very, very important. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity really to concur with this particular bill. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Member for Samburu, Honorable Pauline Lenguris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me time to add my voice to this important, very important bill, Madam Speaker. Being a member coming from the pastoralist community, I think for us, Madam Speaker, this is a very important bill. A very important bill to regulate the livestock sector, which had experienced a lot of challenges and problems, conflicts for a long time. Madam Speaker, this bill is going to harmonize the livestock sector because we have had a lot of challenges and a lot of conflicts between the communities. This specific bill will bring prevention and combating and eradication of animal theft, which has promoted insecurity and a lot of instability amongst our communities. Madam Speaker, we have had a lot of conflict, inter-community conflict, because of animal theft, and we are in the process, we have lost so many people, Madam Speaker. If I take as an example of Samburu, Madam Speaker, we have had a lot of communal conflict along the Suguta Valley and communities bordering Suguta Valley in Samburu. These communities have never gone even for one moment for a raid in the valley. But each and every week, Madam Speaker, cannot end without us experiencing people coming from Suguta Valley and along Baringo to come and raid in Samburu, where people have settled, they are doing their farming, but we have always lost properties, lives of people, and no recoveries have been done since then up to today. Madam Speaker, I think if animals from every county are branded and labeled, such that if an animal goes to a cross-border county, it can easily be identified and it can be returned. This kind of process can help us stop this kind of business, which has really become a terrible challenge amongst our communities. We have seen even people from Meru, they have been complaining always that people from Samburu have been attacking them. I think this bill is going to cure, because all the counties must also be brought in the picture so that they can be able to support, to identify all the animals in their specific counties. They should be having branding for every county such that people can easily identify. Even control of the market, because we have even had camels coming from other counties and being sold in other counties. So when security officers come, they will find an innocent person who has just gone to the market to buy an animal to come and rear, and in the process, someone will identify that this is my camel, and in the process, because of the law, you will be caught as a thief. And in any case, this person has just gone to the market and buy an animal that doesn't belong to them. So this will also cure our market trading, because animals are being transported from very far. They are stolen and transported and being sold, even here in Nairobi. So this is, I want to thank the member who has come up with this bill, and I hope that very soon the president is going to ascend so that we are going to help the pastoralist counties who have had a lot of conflict, a lot of banditry, a lot of killings, a lot of loss of property, so that we can harmonize this sector. Livestock sector, Madam Speaker, is the main source of livelihood for our people. And if the government cannot come in to support in regulating this sector, I think we are going to get a lot of problems, as what is we're experiencing now. Counties blaming each other,
People coming from different places, killing others, going with the livestock and leaving others who are very innocent in a very desperate situation. There's an operation, Madam Speaker, going on to recover stolen livestock from Meru in Samburu. We are not against the security operation that is going on. But I want to ask the security officers who are conducting the operations to do the operation in a way that it's humane, a way that respects human lives, because it's not everyone who has gone to steal. Let them go for the bandits, but respect the life of innocent mothers, innocent children who don't know where the road to Meru is. I'm sure the security officers should know how to locate the bandits. But those ones who are not involved, because it's so unfortunate what happened in Odonyiro. People purporting to be doing operation, they just went and found animals grazing. They confiscated all of them and brought them, that those are the animals that were stolen. But if you look at those animals, those are just animals which were grazing. But the ones who are stolen, they know where the bandits went. They went into the interior mountain, I don't know what, Bukokodo Mountain, and they were not able to enter. So there's no need of making others who are innocent to suffer in the process of recovering the stolen animals. Go for the stolen animals. Don't make everybody suffer in Samburu because of the current going on operation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Madenge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, listening to our friends, there is a likelihood of thinking that the theft of livestock only happens in the pastoralist communities. Madam Speaker, it is even more devastating when the small-scale farmer in Kamakwa, in Nyeri, in Kehuyo, in Madari, in Mudwaine, Nyeri Town constituency, who only has one daily animal, when it is stolen, their entire livelihood is taken away from them. Madam Speaker, when you look at the lot sizes in Nyeri Town, my parents are on a settlement scheme that was allocated to them back in the 70s, and they owned 3 acres of land. When their sons have settled there and they have married, you can begin to see what is happening. Those are families that cannot even keep one cow. So they either have daily goats, or at most they have chicken. But there is even theft of those small livestock. And Madam Speaker, at this time in age, how come in Soliolanch we are able to protect the rhinos, we are able to protect the elephants, we are able to protect the giraffes, we are able to protect the lions, we are able to protect the rare antelope species within the Aberdare forest and Mount Kenya area using satellite technology that is deployed by KWS, including in the conservancies in Laikipia and those ones bordering Samburu and Baringo. Yet, 100 livestock in terms of goats and cows are stolen and move within the forest cover, and they cannot be traced. Why can't we share the services, satellite services that are deployed by KWS? Why can't we use GPS tracking? We are out here. Every time we say we want to give money for livestock restocking. Between the money for livestock restocking and installing GPS chips that can be monitored using satellites and mobile apps, how come it is easier to purport to support families that have lost their livestock rather than use modern technology to protect them from these livestock thieves? Madam Speaker, we have the unstock theft unit. From the time it was formed in this country to date, how come we still use footsteps to trace stolen animals? Why don't we retool this unit and improve its capacity? How many helicopters does this unit have? So, Madam Speaker, I trust that Honorable Dawood, you will listen keenly to the proposals that we are making so that this bill can be improved to actually protect us. I have livestock being stolen in Nyeri town constituency, being sold in Odhaya, being sold in Mokurueni, being sold in Madeira. Yet, in that region, we have literally a police station with an OCS. Each of these sub-counties have an OCPD. How is it possible? And Madam Speaker, it is because we have people in authority who are, including possibly in this house, who are beneficiaries of these atrocities against our people. And that is why they cannot agree to have their livestock tagged. That is why they cannot agree. Because they sit in the ministries, because they sit in interior, because they sit in county governments. And they have large holdings with large numbers of livestock. That is why they will not allow for funds to be voted for GPS tagging, for use of satellite technology. And we are priding ourselves that we are about to launch satellites, or we have already launched satellites into the outer space. How are these satellites serving our people who have elected us in this house so that we can protect them? Honorable Dawood, please improve on this bill. I am ready to sit with you so that we can see the kind of amendments we should make. And therefore also, because we have agreed to be a co-sponsor, let us not have a protracted battle between the Senate and the National Assembly in terms of going to mediation. And if we need to go to mediation, let us go early enough so that the benefits of this bill can accrue to our people. Honorable Speaker, the catering establishments, all of them have licenses from county governments, single business permits. Is it time that we, in this bill, we insisted that catering establishments that serve meat products must have a contract with their supplier, written contract, in a format that is accountable, so that we can ensure that then these catering products are not actually the market for the stolen livestock. And there is high suspicion that they actually are. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is also the transport mechanism. How come every lorry, every motorbike, every probox can transport animals to the market? Until we also, in this bill, address the issue of transporting of either live animals or meat products, then we will still have a gap. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I highly support this so that we are able to protect our farmers from these thieves. Lastly, Madam Speaker, when you take away the livestock, the entire herd of a family that was relying on that herd for their livelihood, is that not economic crime? Madam Speaker, why do we, on Abu Dawood, not import the penalties under the Economic Crimes Act as the penalties in this bill? And therefore we must leverage the existing laws so that the crimes committed here, irrespective of whether it is for the family with a single cow in Nyeri, the theft of that single cow equals the theft of 100 head of cattle or 1,000 head of cattle in Masailand or in Samburu or in Northeastern. Madam Speaker, I support.
Very well. Member for Magarini.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi nami nikapate kuongeza sauti yangu katika mswada huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni mswada ambao umekuja wakati unaofaa. Hakika wafugaji wengi wamepata kupoteza mifugo yao, hasa wale ambao wako magarini. Wamepoteza mifugo yao kupitia kwa majirani ambao hufuata malisho, na wakati wa kurudi kwao wanahama na wanyama wa kutoka wafugaji wa magarini. Hili Mheshimiwa Spika, limefanyika hivi majuzi. Mfugaji mmoja alipoteza ng'ombe wake 32 kule Chakama, na ni jambo la kusikitisha kwamba amepiga ripoti, lakini hakuna taarifa yoyote kufikia sasa ambayo imeweza kutolewa na idara ya usalama. Ni bado anahangaika. Mheshimiwa Spika, iwapo kila kaunti itakuwa na alama yake speciali ambayo ikionekana tu inajulikana, hii ni Kilifi County, hii ni Garissa County, itakuwa ni rahisi kuwatambua wanyama wale ambao wameibwa. Na kama amenunuliwa kutoka Kilifi County, kuwe na stakabadhi ambazo zitakuwa zinaonyesha kwamba huyu mnyama amenunuliwa kutoka kaunti ya Garissa. Mheshimiwa Spika, alama hizi ambazo ni za kutambulisha wanyama ziwe ni alama za kudumu. Pasipokuwa alama za kudumu, ikiwa ni kuweka rangi kulingana na teknolojia ya kisasa, inaweza kufutwa wakati wowote na ikawa bado huwezi kumtambua mnyama wako ameibwa. Ijapo kwetu kuna vile tunaweza kuwatambua wanyama, ama hata wanyama wanaweza kutambua mfugaji wake kwa majina. Nikitoa mfano, kuna mfugaji mmoja ambaye ameibiwa mnyama wake na akaenda akampata kichinjoni. Akaulizwa, umemwekea alama gani? Naye akasema, mimi sijaweka alama yoyote, lakini twende pale kando, kisha mimi nitasema maneno na huyo mnyama atakuja mwenyewe hapa. Walipoenda kando, kweli alipoongea yale maneno na kumwita yule mnyama, mnyama alitembea mpaka pale akasimama, naye akawa ameshathibitisha hiyo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika,
Mheshimiwa Kombe, ni majina na ni ushirikina?
Si ushirikina, ni majina tu. Ni majina, si ushirikina, si swala la ushirikina. Kwa mfugaji ambaye yuko na tajiriba ya kutosha, wanyama wake wote anaweza kuwapatia majina na akawa anawaita na wanakuja sawasawa na vile ambavyo yeye mwenyewe amewazoesha. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mswada huu naona hata tumechelewa kuupitisha. Tuupitishe haraka iwezekanavyo. Iwapo kutakuwa na marekebisho, tuweke marekebisho ambayo itakuwa ni ya kusaidia wafugaji nchini Kenya. Kwa hayo mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaunga mkono mswada huu.
Very well, member for Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, speaking after Kombe, you are tempted to speak in Kiswahili. I might
Only do it at your own risk.
I might embarrass myself. So, Madam Speaker, I stand to support this bill, and mine will be very brief. One, Madam Speaker, I will retaliate to what Honorable Kiujuli asked. How do you explain how somebody disappears into thin air with 1,000 cows? And investigations are done, and the police tells us that they can't get a report about 1,000 cows that disappeared. And Madam Speaker, initially we thought cattle rustling as stealing of livestock was specifically for pastoralist communities. But I can tell you, like in my constituency now, like during the rain seasons, the biggest problem my people are facing, and I don't know why the member for Unyeje is looking at me as if the cows disappearing from my place are going to his place. The biggest problem we are facing, Madam Speaker, is my people losing cows. And you know when people lose cows, you know I'm the only person in a constituency that is called Ichuka Igamba Ngombe. Ngombe because we have cows. So I think I'm the most entitled to speak about cows. Madam Speaker, like Madego was saying, if a family loses one daily cow, a daily cow in our area, a good daily cow, goes to at a cost of around 200,000 to 250,000. So when that family loses that cow, and nowadays they are stealing and carrying them in pro boxes. 3 weeks ago, we had to ban a pro box that was being used to carry the cows from my place. So, Madam Speaker, this anti-stock theft unit is just a molly-bad unit that assumed cattle are stolen only in pastoralist communities. So, Madam Speaker, it's high time that we realize that it's a problem across this country and address it as a countrywide problem. Secondly, Madam Speaker, cattle rustling or stealing takes two forms. One, as a commercial activity, and two, as a cultural activity. So in communities where cattle rustling is a cultural activity, they need to handle it as a cultural matter, that you don't have to go and raid somebody's cow so that you are called a man. Secondly, Madam Speaker, if you go to some developed countries, there's something called ASIP, that if you are selling meat in a butchery and the police come to your butchery, they should be able to trace that meat to the farm where that cow came from. But that does not happen in our country. We have people in butcheries all over in estates in Nairobi. If you ask where they get that meat from, you can know where they go. We are eating meat from people who have been killed and their livestock stolen. So, Madam Speaker, I think there's something we can implement with the good labeling and the documentation, and we ban transportation of cows at night. Because I wonder, with the current county government and the checkpoints they are put, you can't leave one county to another county without a checkpoint. So I wonder where this lorry is carrying 1,000 cows, pass through from one county to another until they reach Nairobi or Mombasa, with all these stops that county government are placed. So having county government at the center of this thing will also help us, because they have checkpoints all over. You can't enter a county, you can't leave a county without, and they make sure they have stops in all the routes that get out of every particular county. So even as they look for cess, you know, there's no way a lorry will come at night, at the middle of night, with the cows, then you just pick cess. You don't know where those cows have come from, you don't know where they're headed from. So, Madam Speaker, having the county government at the center of this bill will really help us to aid this thing. And marking cows and taking care of eateries and butcheries and slaughterhouses, that if you are slaughtering a cow, you should be able to show with the documentation where you bought it and from which county, with the relevant mark from that county. Madam Speaker, I support this bill.
Member for Manyata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I also rise to support this bill, Honorable Speaker. Knowing very well, Honorable Speaker, the crisis and the conflict that Honorable Speaker brought around by the issue of cattle theft. And Honorable Speaker, we have actually seen a rise in theft of livestock in areas such as Meru, that really, Honorable Speaker, used to be very calm. But Honorable Speaker, while we are looking at labeling cows and making sure that they have identity, there is also a need to look at what really makes this trade, this cattle theft and livestock theft, Honorable Speaker, thrive. And Honorable Speaker, this is actually a cartel system that is well-oiled, well-connected, and Honorable Speaker, also politically instigated in some places. As we support this bill, Honorable Speaker, I sympathize with the people in Meru who of late have lost life and lost livestock in the areas that are neighboring the northern side. And Honorable Speaker, we also need to say that
the stock theft team, Honorable Speaker, has also come under scrutiny in their operations in a way that they are also sometimes compromised when it comes to looking at this issue of livestock theft. But I also, Honorable Speaker, want to actually say that it is at this moment where the Ministry of Interior has completely lost trust from the people of the Meru and actually, Speaker, Honorable Speaker, in the northern side. We have found that even after livestock is stolen, and it is clearly seen that this is a politically instigated issue, the investigations really don't get anywhere. And many people have lost livelihood because of this. This livestock end up in our slaughterhouses in Nairobi without any question on how, Honorable Speaker, they were acquired. So as I rise to support this bill, Honorable Speaker, I call upon the Ministry of Interior to actually step up and put more resources on this issue of livestock theft. Honorable Speaker, I also say that it is also not fair that every day, Honorable Speaker, we have seen the misuse of police force. We have seen police force being used in demonstrations, Honorable Speaker. We have seen, Honorable Speaker, in my county, a place called Shiara, Honorable Speaker, we have lost 2 young men who we are burying on Friday and Saturday when they were fighting for healthcare system, Honorable Speaker, in a Shiara level 4 hospital that is actually on the knees. These young men were shot by live bullets, by police, Honorable Speaker, and they were killed. And Honorable Speaker, those families today are crying. Over 10 bullets, cartridges were collected by the IPOA people. These are the same police officers that have allowed livestock theft to thrive in this country because it's profitable and it is making some people very rich. Honorable Speaker, I wonder what the Minister and the CS Interior can tell this House when it comes to misuse of police officers. We have seen the use of police officers against political rallies that are very, very calm, Honorable Speaker. And we are here saying that the same police officers are unable to protect cattle and protect our people in Meru and other places, in Baringo, when it comes to their livestock. Honorable Speaker, I call upon, and many members will support me only that we know the status of this House. We should have impeached the CS with immediate effect because he has failed on his duty. The CS should not even be speaking when it comes to issues to do with security.
Kawanjiko, what is
it is a shame. It's a big shame, Honorable Speaker.
There is a point of order.
Because, Honorable Speaker, this House needs to actually see whether the order is being used and used correctly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Can a member for Manyata substantiate when he's trying to insinuate that the status, what does he mean when he's talking about the status of this House, that members could have talked about, but we know the status of this House? Can he substantiate and declare and say, what is the status of this House, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker?
Mukonji.
Honorable Speaker, I have just indicated that 2 young boys in a Shiara have lost their lives through bullets. Honorable Speaker, I've also said 10 cartridges were collected by IPOA, Honorable Speaker, from the site, Honorable Speaker. The CS has no mandate to continue saying he is in charge of the interior security. When, Honorable Speaker, the livestock theft in Meru
and other places
Honorable Mukunji,
is actually continuing.
I
Honorable
heard you
Speaker.
clearly, but the issue raised by Honorable Kawanjiko is on a statement you said, you know the status of this house. That is the one I would want you to respond to.
Honorable Speaker, I have said and I repeat it. The status of this house, Honorable Speaker, is already we have a broad-based system in this house. A broad-based system that has made it so hard to get members to support something that is against government. That is a fact. That is a fact, Honorable Speaker. And I've substantiated my claim, Honorable Speaker. And I
Do not respond to him.
Just to finish, Honorable
And
Speaker.
In my understanding, I think you have made your point.
Yes.
So continue with your
Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, Honorable
Honorable
Speaker,
Madenge, what is out of
and Honorable
order?
Speaker, don't allow these members to
Madam Speaker, it is the requirement of this House under the standing orders for relevance. Madam Speaker, what is the relevance between the Honorable Mukoji going to a public rally and the livestock bill?
Honorable member for Nyeri Town, that one you're not being fair at all, because I don't know, he's in order to talk about things that are happening in his county and in his constituency. So I would say, Honorable Mukonji, take your time, keep to the rules and the standing orders, but so far, I think you're doing not so bad.
Honorable Speaker, you know, my good friend from Nyeri Town should not show some sort of a lack of
Do not
knowledge of this
answer
house.
the member for Nyeri Town. Continue.
Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I just want to say that this house has the teeth and has all the mandate to ensure taxpayer resources. And Honorable Speaker, every bullet that is used against a Kenyan is bought by our own resources. Honorable Speaker, every gun that a police officer holds and shoots at a Kenyan, Honorable Speaker, and I speak from a point of pain, Honorable Speaker, because I was on the ground to see those people from Eshera and what really they were looking for. They were just saying their hospital is in a horrible situation. They were calling upon, Honorable Speaker, the governor to act. And Honorable Speaker, whoever instructed those young boys to be shot, today we are not yet knowing what happened. But Honorable Speaker, I'm saying we need to actually crack the whip on the cabinet secretary. And we must call him to order, impeach him, or discipline him accordingly, Honorable Speaker. Because this House has the power to do that. But we have allowed, Honorable Speaker, every single issue that is of security. When we say people are being shot at church, Honorable Speaker, when
what is
livestock
out of order? Honorable member for Kiambaa, what is out of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm asking the member for Manyata. He knows the rules and regulations of this House. He cannot be insinuating that the Minister for Interior or for the Interior need to be impeached. And he has not brought any motion in the floor of the House to discuss the conduct of the Minister for Interior. But he cannot be insinuating and speaking like he's speaking in Alali, and he knows the rules and the procedures of this House. Can he bring the motion and find out whether we are going to support the motion or not? But don't try to discuss somebody who is not in the House, Madam Speaker. Bring them.
There is no one on the floor, honorable members. Why are you raising point of order? Honorable Mukonji is actually done. So there is nothing out of order right now. And there is no one on the floor. And I say that because if I listen to Honorable Mukonji, he did not say we are impeaching. He said we should. And everyone has their say, honorable members. And you cannot prosecute an impeachment the way he said it. It's not an impeachment here going on, and we know the process. Honorable members,